Ethan Caldwell never wanted to return to Blackwood Manor. Not after the night his parents disappeared without a trace. Not after years of trying to forget the house's cold, empty halls and the whispers that lingered in the dark. But when an old letter surfaced, one written in his mother's trembling hand, dated the night she vanished, he had no choice but to go back. The message was simple. Ethan, if you find this, never open the door beneath the library, no matter what you hear, no matter what it promises. Now, standing before the decaying mansion, the wind howling through its shattered windows, Ethan felt the weight of the past pressing down on him. The door was open, and something inside was waiting. Ethan Caldwell hadn't set foot in Blackwood Manor for over 15 years, not since the night his parents vanished without a trace. Now, under the gray skies of October, he was back, summoned by an old letter found among his late uncle's belongings. The manor loomed before him, its Gothic architecture silhouetted against the storm-laden clouds. Ivy crawled up the walls, and the once grand double doors stood slightly ajar, as if welcoming him back into its cold embrace. The air smelled of damp wood and something else, something rotten, lurking just beyond his senses. The moment Ethan stepped inside, the temperature plummeted. Dust coated the furniture like a funeral shroud, and the chandeliers above swayed slightly, though there was no breeze. His footsteps echoed unnaturally, as if something in the walls was listening. As he moved deeper into the house, he noticed the family portraits lining the walls. They were exactly as he remembered, except for one detail. The eyes in the paintings had changed. They were no longer the cold, painted stares of forgotten ancestors. They were watching him. He shook off the unease and ventured into the study. A single candle flickered on the desk, illuminating an old journal, the same one his mother had always carried. He opened it and found a passage that made his blood run cold. They are still here, in the walls, in the mirrors. They whisper to me in the night, telling me to stay. But I know better. I know what they want. A sudden rustling came from behind him. He turned just in time to see a shadow dart across the hallway. A figure barely visible melting into the darkness. That night, Ethan was awakened by a whisper. It wasn't coming from the wind, nor from the house settling. It was coming from inside his room. He sat up, heart pounding. The whispering grew louder, more insistent. It was a chorus of voices, hushed but desperate. The sound seemed to be coming from the walls. Summoning his courage, he pressed his ear against the wooden paneling. His breath caught in his throat. "Let us out. Let us out." A cold breeze brushed his neck, though the windows were closed. Then, suddenly, the whispering stopped. And from the darkness of the room, a shape moved. It was tall, twisted, with elongated fingers and a face that barely resembled anything human. Its eyes were hollow, its grin impossibly wide. It reached for him. Ethan barely slept. The next morning, he searched the house for any clue about what was happening. The journal spoke of a hidden chamber beneath the house, one his mother had feared but never dared enter. After hours of searching, he found it, a trapdoor beneath a rotting rug in the library. The metal handle was ice cold, and as he pulled it open, a wave of decay and mildew rushed up to greet him. A ladder led down into complete darkness. With a lantern in hand, he descended. The chamber was lined with stone, its walls covered in strange symbols. In the center stood an altar, and upon it lay something wrapped in a sheet. Heart hammering, Ethan pulled back the cloth. What he saw made him stagger backward. It was his parents, or what remained of them. Their bodies were mummified, their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror. Their hands were clasped together, their fingers twisted into unnatural shapes. And then, the whispering returned. This time, it wasn't pleading. It was laughing. Ethan barely had time to react before the shadows in the chamber began to move. The darkness slithered, forming shapes, long clawed fingers, hollow eyes, whispering mouths. The symbols on the walls pulsed, glowing faintly as something stirred beneath the altar. A deep, guttural sound filled the chamber, as if the house itself was breathing. Then, they rose. The corpses of his parents, their eyes now pitch black, their mouths stretching into impossibly wide smiles. "You should not have come back, Ethan," they whispered in unison. The shadows lunged toward him. Ethan ran, scrambling up the ladder, slamming the trapdoor shut. But it wasn't over. The house groaned, its walls warping, its whispers turning into screams. He had awakened something, and now it wanted him. Ethan never made it out of Blackwood Manor. Days later, the house stood silent once more, as if nothing had happened. But the portraits on the walls had changed again. Now, there was a new face among them. Ethan's. His eyes, wide with fear, stared out at anyone who dared to enter. And if you listened closely, late at night, you could still hear the whispers. "Let us out." Blackwood Manor stood silent once more. The wind howled through its crumbling walls, carrying whispers that had no source, no speaker, only a lingering presence. The portraits in the grand hall remained unchanged, except for one. A new face had joined the others. Ethan Caldwell, frozen in oil and canvas, his eyes wide with terror, his mouth slightly open, as if caught mid-scream. And if you stood in the house long enough, if you listened closely in the dead of night, you would hear it. A whisper, software insistent. "Hungry. Let us out."